Holiday was a fantasy VR game. It was popular around the world. Its freedom drew countless players. Its class system felt deeply personal. But this world held dragons and titans. Bloodthirsty monsters also rose from the shadows, and they came only to bring slaughter. Now a dragon was burning the city. People ran through the flames. One lancer faced the chaos alone. He was a top player here. He knew this world by heart. Today he would slay the dragon and claim the highest reward. He launched himself into the sky. His spear struck toward the beast, but the dragon answered with fire. His attack still did not work. He crashed into the ruined ground. He forced himself back up, but the dragon came down again. He knew this attempt had failed, so he tried to log out, but the command would not respond. A warning screen flashed before him. A system error had trapped him. Then the dragon lunged at him. The dragon made one last crushing strike. In the city, people watched the battle live. They saw someone challenge the white dragon. Most thought the challenger would die. Then he appeared on a city street. He stood there in stunned silence. He looked up at the giant screen. He swore he would kill that beast next time. Then he turned and walked away. But something suddenly felt wrong. A sharp shock hit him at once. The world around him turned red. He woke in snow and blood. A cold voice warned that he was bleeding. That lifeless system voice returned again. He slowly looked around the frozen land. This was the northern ice fields. He had already logged out. So why was he still in Palladia? Then strange memories rushed into his mind. They belonged to Alvin, a secluded youth from the frozen north. The name felt strangely familiar. Was Alvin a quest NPC? Had he become that NPC himself? He quickly called up the system interface. The logout command still failed. The window now showed Alvin's name, and his stats were far above normal. These stats were far too high. A hidden tribe youth should not have them. This body felt like a pay-to-win build. Then he noticed a core talent. It was called Reshaping the World. It could bend rules with his own energy. A core trait could shape any class path. Magic or physical, it would stay central. That made it an extremely rare talent. Then a familiar bloodline name appeared. Alvin was the Star Forger's descendant. He was no minor northern NPC. He was a future level 50 raid boss. Players mocked him as the blackened brave king. So this body belonged to that monster. But right now, he was barely alive. Just an injured barbarian boy in the snow. He remembered the world's deadly future. Nation wars would rise. Tower chaos would come. Skeleton tides would spread. Alchemic power would rise too. Every major event was a near-death trial. He could truly die in this world. Winter was already closing in. The white tide would arrive soon. First, he had to survive these ice fields. He refused to accept a doomed fate. He would live and rewrite that fate. But first, he needed to endure winter. Only then could he trace the timeline and search for bloodline purification. That was the key to becoming the strongest Titan. He was far from the tribe. The nearest kingdom was even farther away. Still, he remembered a hunter's cabin nearby. It should have food and firewood. After that, he would find the trade route. A caravan could take him to Linde. Many major events began in that empire. And his best class route was there. It was the alchemic night path. Then he heard movement nearby. He dropped low behind the snow. Someone was approaching fast. This place was far from the trade route. No normal caravan should have come here. Through the white haze, riders appeared. A hooded woman raced across the ice. She rode a huge bird through the snow. Dark pursuers rushed behind her. Their black war horses burned with blue flames. Crossbows flashed as they took aim. Bolts screamed past the fleeing rider. He studied the horses in silence. No breath showed before their mouths. No hoofbeats sounded at full speed. Those were undead mounts from Elrond. Then he finally saw the rider clearly. It was Freya Guthsmith herself, the Empress of the Magic Kingdom of Elrond. But in this time she was still princess. It was before New Era 1886. The world was still ruled by swords and magic. Alvin judged the three pursuers quickly. Their strength did not exceed Tier 2. That meant he still had a chance. So Alvin made his move. He hid himself beneath the snow. The assassins closed in on the princess. One asked if she should be captured alive. The answer was no. They only needed her dead. Their crossbows fired at the riding bird. Alvin burst out from the snow. He struck in the middle of their charge. The sudden attack threw the riders off. But the bird was still hit. That mistake enraged Alvin. He activated his barbarian berserk state. A red aura exploded around his body. He smashed into one attacker at full force. The riders lost control of the fight. Their bolts even hit their own side. Alvin used the chaos well. He turned one enemy into a shield. Even then, their bodies could endure brutal internal damage. Because this is the capacity of their blood race. The leader quickly changed the plan. One man would chase the princess. He would deal with this barbarian himself. The wounded hunter tried to excuse himself. But Alvin only mocked his weakness. Then he flung the man back at the leader. Then the real threat stepped forward. The leader is a blood drinker at Tier 2. The other two assassins were only Tier 1. The blood drinker rushed Alvin with deadly speed. His sword slashed hard into Alvin's arm. The strike was real and dangerous, but Alvin endured the pain. He caught the leader's sword on this hand. Then he locked it in place. Now the leader could not draw again. Alvin struck back instantly. His punch crushed the leader's face. Pain tore through his whole body. The leader stumbled across the snow. The pain in Alvin's arm was severe. Only his berserk endurance kept him moving. Without it, the pain was unbearable. Alvin mocked Elrond nobles for lacking battle sense. The princess answered him immediately. She raised a rock over a fallen attacker. Then she smashed him without mercy. Alvin quickly took back his words. But the battle had a cost. The princess turned to her fallen bird. She ran to Fillory in panic. She held the dying bird close. Tears filled her eyes. She called Fillory her partner and friend. Then she prayed for the bird's peace. After that, she faced Alvin properly. She thanked him for saving her. Then she introduced herself. Her full name was Freya Antonia Josephine Guthsmith. She said he could call her Freya. For a moment, Alvin only stared. He was caught by her beauty. Freya noticed and called him out. Embarrassed, Alvin changed the subject. He searched one of the corpses. Inside the dead noble's mouth, he found valuables. To Alvin, that was pure money. Freya then asked his name. He introduced himself as Alvin Aryan. He called himself a northerner. That name surprised Freya. She connected it to an ancient saga. Alvin was surprised she knew it. Freya said she learned a little. She studied old books in Elrond's capital. Then, Alvin asked the real question. Who were those people? Why were they trying to kill her? Freya finally revealed her identity. She was the first princess of Elrond. She had been attacked on the way to graduation. The ceremony was at the Royal Academy. Alvin then asked something else. Why had she come this far north? This place was far from Elrond. Freya looked ahead and answered calmly. She came here to avoid the real trap. Freya began explaining Elrond's dark history. Elrond was known as the Magic Kingdom. Its magic focused on body modification and necromancy. That was why its ruler was called the Demon King. Long ago, Elrond was a wandering medical tribe. Religious forces drove them into the northern barrens. To survive, they studied ways to kill monsters. Their healers became red mages and flesh monks. Hex modification became their main path. Then necromancers appeared and ruled bone and soul. They even created a secret body remodeling rite. After that, Elrond became strange and feared. No one could read what hid beneath them. But nobles and commoners were never equal. Nobles kept the best advancement paths. Commoners got cheap and limited modifications. Some were fused with beasts for fixed labor. As Alvin listened, he thought of Freya's future. One day she would shake this kingdom. She would challenge its rigid class system. But Alvin also knew that hope would fail. He stopped her and asked about the real trap. Freya said the Academy attack was only bait. The enemy wanted to force her capital route. Their main force was waiting on that road. So she split from her subordinates. Then she crossed the northern ice fields instead. She believed this route would hold fewer enemies. She thought she could handle the danger herself. That confession sounded far too innocent. Even Alvin found it unexpected. Freya then asked if he was still listening. Alvin said yes and changed the subject. He asked if she wanted the mastermind's name. Freya was stunned and leaned closer. Alvin grabbed one assassin by the collar. Then he asked about blood race rituals. Freya said 12 noble families had mastered them. That included the Grand Duke of Blood Dragons. Still, she could hardly believe the truth. Would those nobles really dare kill royalty? Alvin said one group was still missing. Freya looked confused and asked who. Alvin pointed at the fallen man. Then he named the real threat. The necromancers were behind this too. The corpse suddenly opened one eye. A hidden voice answered from the body. The disguise started breaking apart. Its human face peeled away into bone. Freya recognized the techniques at once. It used corpse control and bone magic. This was a necromancer from Hippocratic school. The skeleton mage praised Freya's talent. He knew exactly who she was. He said their backup plan was ready. Dark circles spread beneath the fallen assassins. The dead bodies began fusing together. Bone and flesh twisted into one monster. A giant, undead brute rose from the blood. The necromancer called it their lord's mercy. He said he hated killing a gifted junior. Freya stiffened as the monster stood up. Alvin told her not to be scared. He said he would handle the talking. Then Alvin asked the necromancer's real level. The answer was tier 4, not 5. The skeleton admitted he still lacked noble perfection. Then he asked if Alvin felt confident. Alvin only smiled and shrugged it off. He said he was just asking. Then Alvin moved straight to Freya. He grabbed her without any hesitation. He reminded her of a barbarian's skill. Barbarians were famous for their speed. Alvin grabbed Freya and ran at full speed. He mocked the crowned wizard as he fled. The necromancer was shocked by Alvin's insight. He had seen the skeleton general was unfinished. The necromancer cursed the barbarian and gave chase. The red monster twisted into a faster form. Then it rushed after them through the snow. Green death bolts formed around its body. The monster fired them toward Alvin's back. Alvin kept running with Freya on his shoulder. He said a mere tier 4 was unworthy. The green bolts rained down from above. Alvin covered Freya and pushed through the blasts. The monster demanded Alvin's identity. It asked how he knew necromancy so well. Alvin only called himself a passing barbarian. The monster refused to let him escape. It gathered more power for one final strike. A deadly death spell started taking shape. Freya recognized it as the Finger of Death. Freya told Alvin not to move. He shifted her higher and kept running. She yelped at his rude touch. Above them, the death spell kept growing. Alvin calmly counted the charging time. Then he said the spell was too slow. He used lightweight folding crossbow. A bolt shot through the air. It pierced the monster's head cleanly. The creature exploded and crashed into the snow. Alvin told Freya it was safe now. Freya still could not understand what happened. But the monster was not dead yet. It praised Alvin's hit and swore revenge. Far away, rain fell over Evanmore, Elrond capital. Inside the Spring Palace, a young royal ran. He reported that the princess was still missing. He begged to lead the Silver Knights out. But the Demon King refused him. The Imperial Guard could not leave Evanmore, and the young royal could not leave either. He was stunned by the order. His sister was meant to inherit. But the Demon King feared the capital would collapse. There was still no news from the princess. The Demon King made his choice clear. Elrond needed a successor at all times. The young prince bowed and accepted it, but he walked away in silence. Behind him, his father only smiled. Then the Demon King looked at a family portrait. He called Freya his most beloved daughter, and he wondered where she was. Far away, a blast shook the ice fields. Alvin stared at the empty snow. He joked they left too suddenly. Freya stepped forward and questioned him. She asked who he really was. Alvin only called himself a barbarian. Freya immediately called that a lie. Real barbarians called themselves Northmen, and they would not know necromancy so well. Alvin dodged the truth again. He told her to accept a simple excuse. Freya hated liars, but let it pass. Then she thanked him with full respect. As the eldest princess, she bowed to him. She promised the Guthsmith family would repay him. But the wind suddenly betrayed her. Alvin blurted, "White!" Freya quickly covered herself and shouted. Alvin tried to explain, already flustered. He was talking about that white tide. He grabbed Freya without hesitation. Then he ran with her through the snow. A buried cabin appeared just in time. The white tide roared past above it. Soon, they were safe inside the hut. A pot boiled over the fire. The two sat down with hot food. Then Alvin asked a serious question. How would she fight 3 vampires alone? Freya showed him a hidden item. It was a gem scroll bracelet. Alvin was clearly surprised by it. He said it could shred vampires instantly. Freya studied him more carefully then. He knew far too much already. So she asked the real question. Why did the necromancers target her?